No one. Trash is everywhere. If you have ever been to Vietnam, you will likely notice that household waste appears everywhere, on sidewalks, in the middle of roads, on empty lots, and even in major rivers like the Red River and the To Lich River. Plastic waste, nylon bags, and single-use packaging are directly discarded into the environment due to a lack of collection points or the habit of careless disposal. Open dumps still exist near residential areas, where waste is burned directly, releasing foul odors and toxic gases. Despite campaigns to raise public awareness, the practice of collecting and sorting waste at the source has yet to become common. Not only waste, air pollution in cities like Hanoi also comes from old motorbikes, the burning of straw, and industrial emissions that are not strictly controlled. Many streets are covered in thick layers of fine dust during rush hours, making dust masks an essential item. In international reports, Hanoi frequently ranks among the cities with unsafe air quality levels. This situation is particularly severe in winter and early spring, when thick fog combines with emissions to form a smog layer that lingers for many hours a day. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that environmental issues are receiving more attention from young people and local authorities than before. Volunteer groups collecting trash at beaches and residential areas are becoming increasingly common. Some central districts have started piloting waste sorting models, combined with on-site organic waste treatment. New urban areas are placing more emphasis on greenery, open spaces, and sustainable planning. This is not yet a radical change, but it signals that Vietnam is gradually beginning to confront the issue and make fundamental adjustments. No. 2. A unique coffee culture. Vietnam is the second largest coffee exporter in the world, just after Brazil. Each year, millions of tons of coffee are produced mainly in the Central Highlands and then transported around the globe. The most common variety is Robusta, known for its strong flavor, low acidity, and high caffeine content, making it well-suited for milk coffee and instant coffee. Coffee was introduced to Vietnam by the French in the 19th century, but after more than a century, it has not only become a major crop, but also deeply integrated into the Vietnamese lifestyle and daily habits. Among the various types of coffee in Vietnam, civet coffee is the most controversial. This coffee is made from beans that have passed through the digestive system of the civet. Due to its unique aroma and high economic value, many places have started caging civets to mass produce it for profit. Animal protection organizations have spoken out against the cramped living conditions and the forced feeding of civets to increase output. The commercialization of civet coffee raises many ethical questions about agricultural production in Vietnam. Number 3. The toughest travel challenge you'll ever face. Located deep within Phong Nha, Cái Bang National Park, Sun Dong Cave is recognized as the largest natural cave in the world. With a length of over 9 kilometers, a height of nearly 200 meters, and a volume far exceeding any known cave, Sun Dong resembles a miniature planet with its own primeval forest, underground river, and even a distinct weather system. Although discovered in 2009, Sun Dung remains a destination that very few Vietnamese people have ever set foot in. The tour price can reach thousands of dollars, limited to only a few hundred visitors per year, and must be booked months in advance. According to the difficulty rating system of Oxalis Tours, Sun Dung is classified at the highest level, 6, as visitors must trek 25 kilometers through the jungle with an elevation gain of about 800 meters, climb, cross streams, and navigate slippery rocks. In fact, before joining the tour, participants are required to submit a medical checkup report from a hospital within the past 6 months. Though not widely accessible, Sun Dung remains a symbol of sustainable tourism development in Vietnam. All licensed operators must strictly adhere to regulations on ecosystem protection, leave no trash behind, and minimize interference with the natural structure. Maintaining a limited number of visitors not only ensures safety, but also helps preserve the cave's pristine condition for future generations. Number 4. Dog meat used to be very popular. In many countries, dogs are companions, beloved pets closely tied to family life. In the West, they are dressed in clothes, given birthday celebrations, and even included in inheritance lists. However, when visiting Vietnam, many tourists are shocked to discover that this animal also appears on dining tables. Here, dogs don't wear shirts or collars, but lie roasted beside trays of liquor, lemongrass stalks, and bowls of fermented shrimp paste. According to 2024 statistics, Vietnamese people consume about 5 million kilograms of dog meat annually, with thousands of slaughterhouses operating covertly both inside and outside cities. This makes Vietnam one of the countries with the highest dog meat consumption in Asia. The dish is believed to ward off bad luck, boost vitality, and is commonly served during end-of-month gatherings or early Lunar New Year celebrations. Despite strong criticism from international media, within Vietnam, the debate over eating dog meat remains unresolved. But there are positive signs in the changing mindset of the younger Vietnamese generation. For them, dogs are no longer food but cherished four-legged friends. Campaigns to protect dogs, boycott slaughterhouses, and call for the end of dog meat consumption are increasingly spreading across social media. Dog owners view the act of slaughtering dogs as cruel and contrary to a civilized society. In major cities like Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, dog meat consumption is no longer as common as it once was. Number 5. Scary dishes. Continuing with the peculiarities of Vietnamese cuisine, balut is the next shock for many Western diners. It is a fertilized duck egg with a developing embryo, boiled and eaten with Vietnamese coriander, ginger, and salt with lime and pepper. This dish is believed to be nutritious, boost energy, and help keep the body warm. Another equally controversial dish is tit can, fresh animal blood mixed with fish sauce and lime, topped with roasted peanuts and herbs. Although favored in many regions, this dish poses food safety risks and has been banned in some areas. In the Mekong Delta, the coconut worm, a larva that lives inside coconut trees, is considered a delicacy. These worms can be deep-fried, grilled, or even eaten live with fish sauce, offering a rich, nutty, and chewy texture. However, not all Vietnamese people eat these dishes, and they do not represent the entirety of Vietnamese cuisine. In reality, many Vietnamese are also hesitant about tit can or coconut worms, and these dishes are usually popular only in certain regions or among specific groups. Instead, familiar dishes like pho, bún chả, bánh xèo, or gỏi cuốn remain the more common and accessible choices for all visitors. Number 6. The culture of bargaining. In Vietnam, bargaining when shopping is not unusual. It is almost a default part of daily life. From fabric stalls at local markets, fruit vendors at the street corner, to small roadside eateries, both buyers and sellers implicitly understand that the quoted price is just the starting point. Sellers often quote a price higher than the actual value, while buyers respond by offering a lower price in a flexible manner. This process takes place not only to reach a desired price, but also to test each other's attitude, reaction, and subtlety. What surprises many tourists is that customers are not always the ones holding the upper hand. Contrary to common belief, if you offer too low a price or show disrespect, the seller may refuse to sell or even ask you to leave. Mutual respect in the bargaining exchange is highly valued, and if you break that rhythm, the temporary buying and selling relationship can end instantly. For foreigners, the simple advice is, don't worry, as bargaining is perfectly normal, but do it cheerfully and politely. Ask the price first, keep a smile, and if you're unsure of the fair amount, try asking for a discount down to about 75% of the quoted price. Number 7. Vietnamese people are a bit superstitious. In Vietnamese culture, ancestor worship is an indispensable part of daily life. Most families have an altar placed in the most respectful area of the house, where incense is regularly burned and offerings are prepared during death anniversaries or on the 1st and 15th days of the lunar month. According to statistics from the Vietnam Academy of Social Sciences, up to 83% of Vietnamese households maintain an ancestral altar at home. For the Vietnamese, this is a way to express gratitude, preserve memories, and maintain the bond between generations within a family. However, for many foreigners, the idea of communicating with the deceased or burning paper offerings can be confusing. They may be shocked to see scenes of Vietnamese people burning paper cars, phones, or villas in the streets, believing that the deceased will receive these items in the afterlife. Though still controversial, this ritual is regarded by many Vietnamese as a deeply humanistic act. It is not merely a form of worship, but each ancestral ceremony is also an occasion for family members to gather and remember their roots together. Number 8. Chopsticks and cultural notes. When joining a meal in Vietnam, you will quickly notice that chopsticks made from bamboo, wood, or coconut are among the most important utensils on the table. From a young age, children are taught how to properly hold chopsticks. Adults use them with such skill and flexibility that they can easily remove fish bones or peel shrimp. However, chopsticks come with many rules that foreign visitors may not anticipate. One of the biggest taboos is sticking chopsticks upright into a bowl of rice, as this resembles a ritual offering to the deceased. Additionally, tapping chopsticks on a bowl or using them to point at others is considered impolite. During shared meals, Vietnamese people often use clean chopsticks to serve food to others at the table, seeing it as a sign of care and respect. Using chopsticks can be a challenge for any traveler, but it is also a deeply memorable cultural experience. However, if it feels too difficult, you can always ask for a spoon. And if you're dining out, there's no need to worry, as most places also provide forks and small knives. Number 9. Chaotic traffic, but surprisingly safe. In Vietnam, stepping onto the street means entering an entirely different traffic universe. Motorbikes flow like water, weaving onto sidewalks, turning without signals, making U-turns in the middle of intersections, and sometimes gliding gently into oncoming lanes if convenient. Pedestrians cross through dense streams of vehicles, with no traffic lights, no crosswalks, relying only on eye contact and instinct to communicate with drivers. This scene can leave many tourists feeling like they've just escaped a survival game. For newcomers, the advice is, don't look for order like in the West, learn to observe the flow. Don't try to cross the street too quickly or too timidly. Walk steadily and maintain a consistent pace, as traffic here will adjust based on your movement. Strangely, although the traffic is very chaotic, the system has always functioned very smoothly. And in fact, Vietnam is one of the countries with the fewest traffic accidents in the region. This has led some foreigners to suspect that Vietnamese people might have a kind of telepathic connection with each other. However, new traffic laws introduced by the government in 2025 have increased penalties, making the traffic system much more orderly and disciplined. Number 10. Children go to school very early. If you are taking a morning walk in Vietnam and see elementary school students already heading into class at 6:45, don't be surprised. Here, official school hours start very early, typically before 7 a.m. for primary and secondary levels, while university classes can begin as early as 6:30. This surprises many foreign visitors, as in many countries, school usually starts later to support children's natural biological rhythms. The habit of early schooling in Vietnam stems from the hot climate and high population density, helping to avoid traffic congestion and take advantage of the cooler morning weather. However, this also places significant pressure on students, especially in big cities, where they must wake up before 6 a.m. to make it to school on time. For those unfamiliar, the sight of children yawning as they walk to class in the dim morning light is a memorable scene. Though it may sound harsh, Vietnamese students adapt quite quickly and maintain this routine for many years. Some schools have recently begun adjusting their start times to be later in order to reduce stress, particularly in urban areas. This reflects the flexibility of Vietnam's education system, where traditions are preserved but change is not feared when it comes to meeting the needs of modern students. Number 11. Remarkable women. In Vietnam, the image of the ideal woman is clearly defined from a young age, knowing how to take care of the family, speaking softly, behaving gently, and always putting her husband and children first. The pressure to marry early, have children with compatible horoscopes, and uphold family traditions causes many women under 30 to already be considered left behind. But the paradox lies here. Despite being bound by traditional molds, Vietnamese women are often the ones who quietly hold real power within the family. They usually manage the finances, make major decisions such as buying a house, choosing schools for their children, or supporting both sides of the family. For tourists or foreigners living in Vietnam, this can be confusing. Why does a society that is modernizing so rapidly still maintain such a seemingly traditional family model? The answer lies in cultural flexibility. Vietnamese women do not fight with slogans, but by subtly and continuously taking control of daily life through their skill and quiet strength. It is this organized silence that makes them appear powerless, while in reality, they are the ones keeping the rhythm of both family and society. Number 12. Sleeper buses are extremely common. Vietnam is one of the countries with the most affordable and accessible public transportation systems in Southeast Asia. In major cities, buses are the most common mode of transport, operating from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. with ticket prices ranging from only 0.30 to 0.40 USD per ride, or about 4 to 5 USD for an unlimited monthly pass. For people with average incomes, this is a practical daily choice. For tourists traveling between provinces, sleeper buses offer a very unique experience not commonly found in other countries. Instead of sitting with knees cramped for hours, passengers on sleeper buses can lie back in individual beds and sleep until they reach their destination. Ticket prices range from 8 to 16 USD, depending on the route, much cheaper than trains or flights. However, this experience isn't always entirely comfortable for foreign travelers. The bed space can be quite narrow for taller people. The air conditioning is sometimes unexpectedly cold, and the bus may shake along mountain roads, which can be tiring for those unaccustomed. To improve the experience, many major bus companies have invested in leather-covered beds, Wi-Fi, charging ports, private curtains, and free light blankets, significantly upgrading the journey's quality. With overnight routes that help save on accommodation costs, sleeper buses are not just a means of transportation, but also a part of the adventure of exploring Vietnam. Number 13. Prejudices about numbers. If you are looking to rent an apartment or buy a phone SIM card in Vietnam, don't be surprised if the price is noticeably cheaper when the number 4 is included. In Vietnamese, bon sounds similar to two, which means death, an unlucky association. On the other hand, the number 9 is highly sought after, as it suggests longevity and luck according to the Sino-Vietnamese reading Cu. This is not a rare phenomenon, but a widespread numerological belief deeply embedded in modern daily life. In major apartment complexes in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, many buildings skip the 4th floor, room number 4, or must price them 3 to 5% lower. In the telecommunications sector, SIM cards containing multiple 9S can be priced dozens of times higher than regular ones, creating a highly active market. Foreigners often find it puzzling that numbers which are typically random in Western culture can have such a strong influence on consumer behavior and spiritual life in Vietnam. However, from this belief, Vietnamese people have developed a symbolic habit of selective choice in everyday decisions. Though spiritual in nature, choosing a beautiful number is also a way for people to send their hopes for a smooth and peaceful life. For travelers, this is a chance to observe an interesting aspect of East Asian thinking, where every number carries a special meaning in daily life. And if you're giving a gift or flowers, make sure to avoid the number 4. Number 14. Vietnamese people can walk on water. Located in the tropical monsoon climate zone, Vietnam experiences two distinct seasons, the rainy season and the dry season. From May to November each year, the central and southern provinces are often hit by prolonged heavy rains and affected by dozens of storms coming in from the East Sea. The intense rainfall causes frequent localized flooding in major cities like Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, and Da Nang, especially during rush hours or after major downpours. Instead of seeing this as a crisis, many Vietnamese people have adapted in surprising ways. They continue riding motorbikes through flooded streets as if nothing unusual is happening. The sight of long lines of motorbikes wading through water, with some riders lifting their pants or skirts as they go, is a common scene during the rainy season. Some even wrap plastic bags around their shoes, prop their feet on the bike seat, or walk through murky floodwaters to get to work or school. For foreign visitors, this may come as quite a shock, as ongoing traffic in submerged streets is almost unimaginable in developed countries. In reality, amid hardship emerges the resilience and adaptability of the Vietnamese people. In neighborhoods frequently affected by flooding, residents prepare boats, foam boxes, or makeshift drainage paths. Many see flooding as a part of urban life and learn to live with it rather than complain. Some localities are also upgrading urban drainage systems and implementing rain warning technologies to minimize damage. For the locals, flooding is not seen as something extraordinary, but almost like weather with a set schedule. Number 15. The culture of storming the streets. In many countries, football is simply a sport, but in Vietnam, it is almost a form of modern folk religion. Vietnamese people closely follow every regional and international tournament, know the players' names like idols, and don't hesitate to stay up late to cheer even for a friendly match. When the national team plays, the whole country seems to beat as one. From sidewalk cafes to central boulevards, large screens are set up to serve thousands of fans, creating an atmosphere no different from a street festival. But what truly overwhelms foreign visitors are the storming the streets celebrations after every victory. When the final whistle blows and the win is secured, tens of thousands pour into the streets with red flags bearing yellow stars, horns, drums, jerseys, and even pots and pans. They jump on motorbikes, cheer through the night, turning every street into a sea of excitement. In major cities like Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, or Da Nang, traffic jams during these collective celebrations have become an essential part of any big win. For foreigners, celebrating a football victory as if the country just gained independence can be hard to understand. Yet it is exactly these explosive moments that reflect a profound characteristic of Vietnamese culture, a strong collective spirit, national pride, and an extraordinary ability to unite as a community. During these football festivals, regional, class, and generational differences seem to dissolve. The entire nation becomes one giant stadium, where every heart beats for the national flag and one shared team. Football is not just a game, it is the emotional glue that binds the Vietnamese spirit. Number 16. Motorbikes are as useful as trucks. In Vietnam, any available space can become a place to live, work, or do business. A small porch, just a few square meters wide, can be transformed into a kitchen, dining area, and guest reception spot. Motorbikes are not just for transportation, but also serve as mini trucks, pet carriers, and even vehicles for moving refrigerators or bunk beds. The sight of a two-wheeler carrying an entire family of 5, along with a chicken cage on the back, leaves many tourists wondering whether they've truly used their motorbike to its full potential. Adaptability doesn't stop at vehicles. It also appears in urban architecture. Some houses are built over shared staircases, right next to railway tracks, or squeezed into alleys less than a meter wide. Any patch of unused land can be turned into an extra floor, a mezzanine, or an extended tin roof. In the countryside, a house can also double as a carpentry workshop, a convenience store, or a daycare center. For visitors, this might be a visual shock, but also a fascinating lesson in improvisation. This adaptability is not just a response to material hardship, but also a clear reflection of a culture that values flexibility over rigidity. In a society that is constantly changing, Vietnamese people don't wait for everything to be perfect before starting. They begin first, then improve along the way. And it's precisely this habit that has allowed them to survive, adapt, and even thrive in conditions that might seem disadvantageous to others. Number 17. Sidewalks are not for pedestrians. In many countries, sidewalks are strictly reserved for pedestrians. But in Vietnam, especially in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, sidewalks have become a magic pouch filled with all kinds of activities such as motorbike parking lots, street-side barbershops, and tiny coffee stalls. This forces pedestrians to walk on the road, but what's even more shocking is that sometimes they are fined by traffic police for doing so. In 2018 alone, Hanoi recorded over 3,200 cases of pedestrians being penalized for violating traffic laws. This caused frustration among both locals and tourists. However, the movement to return the sidewalks to pedestrians is gradually gaining momentum in many major cities. Campaigns to clear sidewalks, build walking streets, and prioritize public spaces are being promoted in tourist areas, like Hanoi's Old Quarter, Nguyen Hue Walking Street, and the Han River Promenade in Da Nang. Several districts in Ho Chi Minh City are also experimenting with zones where motorbikes are banned from encroaching on sidewalks during peak hours. While challenges remain in balancing livelihoods with urban planning, it's clear that awareness of the need to create safe pedestrian spaces is gradually shifting in a more positive and sustainable direction. Number 18. Mysterious buildings. Located on one of the busiest streets in Haiphong Province, Hu Nhi Hotel was once a prestigious destination, favored by many international business people. But between 2007 and 2012, something made the place incredibly strange. A foreign company of unknown origin rented nearly 3 entire floors of the hotel for almost a year, without anyone ever staying there. The contract signing, payment, and furnishing were all carried out properly. But afterward, the floors remained completely deserted, windows were always shut, and the lights stayed on late into the night. Hotel staff said they were prohibited from entering those floors, and no one was allowed to clean the locked rooms. When the contract ended, all the furnishings were removed overnight using 4 trucks, without any press release, without a single photo left behind. Some people whispered that the area was used as a special control room for unknown purposes. Others believed the hotel had agreed to host a certain ritual that no one dared to speak of again. Although the hotel still operates normally today, the once vacant floors continue to send shivers down the spines of locals who pass by. Situated in an extremely prime location, The villa at 300 Kim Ma should have been a golden asset in the heart of Hanoi. Yet for over 30 years, it has remained completely abandoned, iron gates locked tight, overgrown with plants, and roof tiles crumbling away. Locals say many groups once attempted to rent the property for offices, homestays, or even to renovate it into a cafe, but all backed out after just a few nights, claiming they couldn't sleep. One security guard even reported hearing strange, untraceable sounds. Still, he admitted that being the only one on night duty, he never dared to investigate. So perhaps it was just the wind. What's striking is that all efforts to demolish or renovate the property have run into mysterious problems. Excavators breaking down without explanation, workers repeatedly falling, and projects being abandoned. Some speculate that the building stands on a disturbed energy line or that it was the site of a tragic past event. Number 18. Rules sometimes exist just for fun. In Vietnam, there is no shortage of regulations that sound strict at first, but turn out to be surprisingly difficult to enforce. Signs banning littering are posted throughout many neighborhoods, yet public trash bins are rarely seen, leaving people unsure of where to throw their waste. Campaigns to ban sidewalk encroachment have been launched in many major cities, but after each crackdown, street vendors return as if nothing ever happened. One typical example is the regulation to fine those who ride motorbikes without helmets. In theory, all violators should be strictly penalized. In practice, however, many people wear flimsy helmets or even paper-thin caps just to fool the police. Or the rule banning homemade three-wheeled vehicles, which has been clearly stated for years, but still sees widespread use in big cities, because if enforced strictly, hundreds of thousands of workers would lose their livelihood. In many cases, the law isn't abolished, but its enforcement is adjusted depending on the situation. Rather than creating rules for absolute enforcement, many laws in Vietnam function as deterrents, forming a general legal framework that allows for easier control when necessary. This reflects a flexible management mindset. Laws are kept to give executors room to act, not to be applied mechanically. Tourists may find this surprising at first, but the longer you stay, the more you'll realize. The system here doesn't run on rigid standards, but on relationships, timing, and the specific needs of the situation. Number 19. They make liquor from snakes. For a long time, rice wine and medicinal wine have been a familiar part of Vietnamese life, especially in rural areas. During gatherings, festive meals, or at casual drinking spots, jars of wine infused with herbs, roots, and even animals often appear as symbols of masculinity and health. Among them, snake wine, usually featuring a whole cobra soaked in white liquor, still shocks many foreign visitors. The shiver doesn't come from the taste, but from the visuals. Jars openly displayed in restaurants, grocery stores, and even by the roadside. Some places add scorpions or centipedes to increase the danger factor. Although Vietnamese law has regulations on wildlife protection, snake-infused wine is still widely available, mostly using farm-raised snakes. Despite its intimidating appearance, locals still value the therapeutic properties of this type of wine. In folk culture, the snake symbolizes strength, and drinking snake wine is believed to enhance vitality, endurance, and resilience. Number 20. The friendliness of Vietnamese people. On the list of things that keep visitors coming back to Vietnam, the friendliness of the people always ranks near the top. Whether you are walking through Hanoi's old quarter, lost in a rural village in central Vietnam, or looking for a place to eat in Saigon, chances are you'll be offered directions, guided to your destination, or even escorted there by a stranger without expecting a thank you in return. The warm smiles, willingness to strike up a conversation, and open attitude often surprise foreigners, especially those from societies where privacy is held in the highest regard. However, this friendliness can sometimes leave foreigners feeling confused. Many tourists feel overwhelmed when Vietnamese people ask about their age, profession, or even marital status just after a few casual exchanges. Others find themselves mistaken for potential customers when they are simply strolling down the street and get persistently invited to buy something. In some cases, well-meaning help is met with suspicion, as cultural differences make it hard for Westerners to understand acts of kindness with no strings attached. But if you stay long enough, you'll realize that most of these actions come from genuine sincerity. Vietnamese people are raised in a culture that values neighborly love, slow living, and emotional bonds. They are not used to Western-style detachment, and often see helping others as something completely natural. That friendliness doesn't come from soft skills training or the tourism industry, but from their everyday habits and traditional mindset. For many Vietnamese, helping a stranger doesn't require a reason, only the simple recognition that someone is in need. Surely by now, you've gained a more nuanced perspective on Vietnam, a country that, while not without its imperfections, offers unique and astonishing experiences you won't find anywhere else. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue exploring the world together through fresh and unexpected angles. And what about you? What do you think about Vietnam? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. The information is for reference only, so please do your own research before making any decisions.